as a former president than most people do in an entire lifetime. So much so that his presidency itself sometimes gets overlooked, almost like an historical footnote. And yet look around at our world today and our politics, and you'll see a lot more echoes of Carter's one term in the White House than you might expect. It was, for instance, under Jimmy Carter's presidency that Iran became the U.S. adversary that it remains today. When Carter took office, the U.S. and Iran were allies. The 1979 revolution in Iran and the hostage crisis that followed, with the indelible images of 52 Americans held for more than 14 months, set the stage for decades of brinksmanship between the two countries. Wanting to be seen as tough on Iran is, of course, a hallmark of the modern Republican Party and Donald Trump. Another indelible image from Carter's tenure is him presiding over a handshake between the leaders of Egypt and Israel as they signed the Camp David Accords. It was a landmark moment that many thought would mark the beginning of a broader peace in the Middle East. But Carter, who garnered both praise and scorn for his tough stance toward Israel in his later years, lived to see the bloodiest, most destructive period in the Middle East in decades. He also lived to see another Democratic president serve only one term. Carter could have told Joe Biden a thing or two about how difficult it is to get reelected when Americans are upset about inflation and your approval rating is at an all-time low. Jimmy Carter was also an early advocate of what would become one of our defining issues of our time, climate change. He famously put solar panels on the White House in an effort to promote green energy and to urge America to wean itself off fossil fuels. President Biden made massive investments in green energy and climate programs during his one term. Donald Trump seems unlikely to follow suit. Speaking of Donald Trump, today a federal appeals court upheld a $5 million judgment against him in a case in which he was found liable for sexually abusing the writer E. Jean Carroll. We'll have more on that story later on, but today's ruling confirms that when Donald Trump takes office next month, he will be the first U.S. president who is both a felon and who has been found liable for sexual abuse. Which makes it endlessly fascinating that the constituency that supports Donald Trump by bigger margins than just about any other group is white evangelical Christians. Given how overwhelmingly American evangelicals are now identified with Donald Trump, it is worth remembering tonight that the first evangelical president was Jimmy Carter. And he won the Democratic presidential primary in 1976, in part by winning states with large evangelical populations. Carter was deeply religious to the end, but also progressive. He saw no conflict in that. In fact, throughout his life, he claimed that his support for human rights and racial equality and global health all came from his understanding of Scripture. But the religious right threw their weight behind Ronald Reagan in 1980, setting the stage for decades of culture wars and eventually the evangelical embrace of Donald Trump. Like I said, the legacy of Jimmy Carter's time in office is all around us, if you know where to look. But on that last point, on Carter's lifelong commitment to human rights and equality and working for peace, I want to share something personal with you. In 2013, we both ended up on the last commercial flight from the United States to Johannesburg for the funeral of former President Nelson Mandela. We had an extended conversation by chance on that airplane, and I asked him if he'd mind having it on camera. So he asked me to give him a 1-hour lead once we landed and then to meet him at his hotel. I asked him in that interview about his support for Mandela's anti-apartheid movement and how his own life and upbringing had informed his thinking about human rights around the globe.
I grew up in a community called Archery, about 2.5 miles west of Plains, Georgia. And there were 50 black families there and 2 white families. All my playmates were black kids. All my fellow field workers were black children. My mother was a registered nurse and she was gone a lot, and I was raised by African-American women. And so as I grew older and ran for the state senate and ran for governor, I saw the devastating impact of racial discrimination on not only my black neighbors' lives, but also the white people's lives in my community. I resolved that the civil rights commitment at home in the United States of America should be expanded on a global basis, and that I should be a champion of human rights.
Joining me now, presidential historians Michael Beschloss and Jonathan Alter. Jonathan's biography of Jimmy Carter is called His Very Best. I'm not sure if you can get your hands on a copy of it right now because a lot of people are reading it or rereading it, as I have been. Gentlemen, thanks. Good to see you both. Michael, let's talk about that. The commitment to human rights is something that came to Jimmy Carter as a young man. He learned it. He witnessed things that caused him to develop a deep belief in it, and something he fought for in his presidency and long after.
Yes, and I think there was a little bit of a guilt that he would be the first to say, if he were with us tonight, that he was not a profile in courage on civil rights for much of his early life, really. Again, I'm always happy to be corrected by Jonathan, who's the superior authority here. But until he ran for governor in 1970 and spoke those words, I say to you quite frankly that the time for racial discrimination is over, this was someone who was not exactly on the cutting edge of equal justice.
And Jonathan, you write about this in great detail in your book, in fact, specifically how he came to that. Tell me about that. There was sort of conflict and difficulty both in his upbringing and his understanding of racial equality that led him to what he later became.
Well, a lot of it starts in the home. His father, Earl Carter, was a white supremacist, cut from that mold that we all understand. If you were black, you couldn't enter the front door of the Carter home. And his mother, however, was a registered nurse who took care of black patients for free and was considered the only person in all of Sumter County who had anything nice to say about Abraham Lincoln. But there was a third parent who Carter made reference to there, a black woman field hand named Rachel Clark. And she really gave Jimmy Carter a lot of his faith and love of nature. And so as he was growing up, he was very unusual in his world, and he didn't use the N-word. Everybody else did. He didn't, his playmates were black, and then when he was in the Navy, he defended black shipmates if they were being abused. But when he got home to Jim Crow, Georgia, in the early 1950s, he was not willing to stand up for civil rights. And he said to me in one of our conversations, I never pretended to be a part of the civil rights movement. So he cut right for political reasons. He said some nice things about George Wallace in order to get elected governor of Georgia. And then, as Michael indicated, in his first moments as governor, he says the time for racial discrimination is over. He goes on to integrate Georgia state government, move the federal government from tokenism to true diversity when he becomes president, appoints many black judges, and becomes the Jimmy Carter that we understand, who then globalizes the civil rights movement with his human rights campaign. And so I think the lesson here, Ali, is that it's never too late to come to a sense of justice. And in many ways, Jimmy Carter spent the second half of his life making up for what he did not do in the first half.
Impressive, though, if you can come to that realization and spend that time. Michael Beschloss, there are things, as we mentioned, there are echoes today of things that were not great about Jimmy Carter's presidency, whether you hold him responsible for them or not. Iran, you know, for better or for worse, it was their revolution, but we were allies and then we weren't, and we've never really been able to reconcile that. We came close with the Iran nuclear deal. With the Middle East, you know, he came close, and then we were never that close again. There are a lot, and inflation. I mean, he literally was the last president who lost his job because of inflation. So there are a lot of things that are still with us today that Jimmy Carter was around to understand as recently as this election in which he cast a vote.
No, I think that's exactly right. And, you know, as always with historical figures, you know, both lights and, you know, both good things and bad things. In Carter's case on Iran, for instance, this is the one who on New Year's Eve, 1977, went to Tehran and toasted the Shah and said that Iran was an island of stability in a troubled region in the Middle East. He knew privately that that was not true. And I think it was an evening that needless to say, for the rest of his life, sat uneasily in his memory. Yet, when the hostages were taken in 1979, there was huge pressure on him to bomb Iran in order to get reelected. He felt that if he had done that, he could have gotten reelected amid all the frustration about these hostages. But he also said that if I had done that, he said privately, there probably would have been maybe 10,000 innocent Iranians killed and the hostages would have been executed. So this was a profile in courage in that he showed restraint that really could, in a lesser person, have led straight to reelection. Could I mention one more, Ali?
Yeah, please.
What I'm thinking of, you were mentioning inflation. Yes, Carter's economic policies did not avert inflation, and there was terrible inflation, especially by his last year or two in office. But in 1979, he supported the appointment of Paul Volcker as Federal Reserve Chairman with a specific mandate to have policies that would, put a lock on inflation to try to bring it down, knowing that that would make it very hard for him to get reelected. So all I'm saying is, I'm not saying that Carter was in any way perfect, but here are two cases that really were profiles of courage.
Yeah, so a second Carter term might have shown whether some of those things bore out. One of the things you write about, Jonathan, is that we think of Jimmy Carter in saintly terms. The guy had a bit of a potty mouth, and he was known to be a little tough on his staff.
Yeah, he didn't actually insult people the way we've seen in our current politics. He would stare his icy blue eyes into them, and the temperature would go down about 30 degrees, and you'd know you were in trouble. Or he'd give you a tight-lipped smile rather than that big smile that we're all familiar with. And so he wasn't known as being especially hard on staff, but he did not suffer fools. And he was not the warm and fuzzy guy that he maybe seems in public. He could be cold, but it's also, there's so many myths about him, like this idea that, he never got his way with Congress. Well, just to go back to the Panama Canal, which you mentioned, so 2/3 of the country was against ratifying the Panama Canal treaties.
Right.
And Ronald Reagan came to national prominence, really, running on the Panama Canal. We bought it, we paid for it, it's ours, he said. So Carter had to convince 2/3 of the Senate to vote for treaties that 2/3 of the public opposed, the heaviest of heavy lifts, and more than half a dozen senators lost their seats because they sided with him on the Panama Canal. Why did he do it? Everybody told him, do it in your second term. Don't do this now. It's a political disaster. And he said, because it's in the national interest to do it. The Joint Chiefs told him that if they didn't ratify these treaties, there would be sabotage of the canals, the main artery of commerce in the Western Hemisphere, and that we would have to have 100,000 troops there permanently. We would have a festering Vietnam in Central America. And Carter said, we have to avoid that. We have to turn the canal over. And later, after Reagan was elected, I asked a senior Reagan official, why didn't you abrogate the treaties, which is what Trump is talking about doing now? And he said, because Reagan understood when he got to office that these treaties are very much in the national interest of the United States. So the idea that Trump is now reopening this is quite alarming, and we just have to hope that this is one of his passing obsessions.
Well, I wasn't going to burden either of you with asking why Donald Trump has decided he's all about the Panama Canal, but I appreciate, Jonathan, that you did it yourself. You got us there. You've brought us full circle. Guys, thanks very much. I appreciate your time. Michael Beschloss and Jonathan Alter, they are both presidential historians. Jonathan is the author of an important book about Jimmy Carter's life, a remarkably detailed book that's worth a read if you haven't done it yet. All right, coming up, Donald Trump finally endorses Mike Johnson for House Speaker, but is that going to be enough? We're going to discuss that when we get back.
Hi, I use Febreze Fade Defy Plug.
And I use this.
Febreze has a microchip to control scent release, so it smells first day fresh for 50 days.
50 days?
And its refill reminder light means I'll never miss a day of freshness. Febreze Plug.
Well, would you look at that?
Jerry, you gotta see this.
Seen it. Trust me, after 15 walks, gets a little old. Yeah, I really should be retired by now. Wish I invested when I had the chance. To the moon. Unbelievable.
Stop waiting. Start investing. E-Trade from Morgan Stanley.
My name is Braden. I was 5 years old when I came to St. Jude. I'll try and shorten down the story. So I've been having these headaches that wouldn't go away. My mom, she was just crying. What they said, your son has brain cancer.
It was your worst fear coming to life.
Watching your child grow up is the dream of every parent. You can join the battle to save the lives of kids like Braden by supporting St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so they can focus on helping their child live.
What they have done for me, my son, my family. Sorry, yeah.
Life is a gift, especially for a child battling cancer. Call or go online and help save the lives of children like Braden.
Now I'm 11 years old. We were actually doing the checkup for my brain, and they saw something in my throat. It's thyroid cancer.
It was heartbreaking to find out that he has cancer again, but we knew who we had behind us. It just gives me hope.
You can make a difference. Join with your credit or debit card for only $19 a month, and we'll send you this St. Jude t-shirt.
Without St. Jude or its donors, we would have been in a bad place.
These kids, they've done nothing wrong in the world. Finding a cure for childhood cancer, it means everything.
Help St. Jude give kids with cancer a chance.
Hank used to suffer from what felt like a cold and flu medicine hangover in the morning. Then he switched to Mucinex Night Shift. Mucinex is uniquely formulated to leave your system faster so you wake up ready to go. Try Mucinex Night Shift and feel the difference.
Is your shower trying to tell you something? Is getting in and out of the bathtub becoming a safety concern? Are you worried about the cost of a bathroom remodel that could go on for weeks and weeks? Well, now you can have a gorgeous new bath or shower with a one-day jacuzzi bath remodel that's safer at a price you can afford. We're waiving all installation costs and postponing all payments for up to 1 year.
Oh my gosh. It is beautiful. Oh.
From soft close shower doors and adjustable shower heads to features like grab bars and custom seats that combine safety and style. It's never been easier. Get your free design consultation, schedule your one-day installation, and start loving your new bath or shower right away.
Call or go online. Right now, we are waiving all installation costs and offering no interest and no payments for up to 1 year. Go to jacuzzibathremodel.com or call 800-378-9643. Call now.
I believe with all my heart that America must always stand for basic human rights at home and abroad. That is both our history and our destiny. The fundamental force that unites us is not kinship or place of origin or religious preference. The love of liberty is a common blood that flows in our American veins.
After scrambling to pass a spending bill and avert a government shutdown just before the holidays, the House of Representatives returns to work this week, and they will vote for a new speaker on Friday. House Republicans, with their razor-thin majority, will
to do this, especially if they're going to be Democrats who are not going in on certain issues.
Joe, talk to me about that rump in the Republican Party, in the conference, that sort of is a descendant of where you were back in the Tea Party days, but they're different. It doesn't seem to have the same cohesion and discipline. They seem to gather for some things and not for others. What can we expect from them in this context? Because Mike Johnson is not Donald Trump. He's a supporter of Donald Trump, but he doesn't sort of thrive on the same sort of chaos that Donald Trump seems to. And he's got a very tight margin in Congress. He's got to have his I's, dotted and his T's crossed to make this work.
He's got an extremely tight margin. Look, this does portend at least 2 years of craziness. All of the base, these House Republicans, Allie, they're all in essence free agents. They're all in this for themselves. And even 10 to 12 years ago, the Tea Party movement, we all kind of were on a team about certain issues. They're all on their own now. But I don't want to gloss over the fact that Donald Trump still owns them, and he still owns this party, and his endorsement and the hell that he can bring down on any member that goes against him and primary them in 2 years, that still is paramount, and they know that.
That part,
April, talk to me about. Go ahead. That part, the hell that Donald Trump can bring down if you go against him. True. Trust and believe. What then do the Democrats do about this right now? Because this is always the case. When the margin is that tight and the defectors are as large as they are, the Democrats can be called upon to help Mike Johnson out. They have done so in the past. What role will they play in these early days in Congress?
They are not going to help Mike Johnson in the speaker fight if there is a fight. What the Democrats are going to do is they're going to stand true to their foundational beliefs, because they are against much of this, these executive orders and this Project 2025 talk and plan. So what we can expect is there's going to be a fight on withdrawing funding on certain issues, be it DEI, CRT, also on that mandate to revoke monies for schools who go against the vaccination, withdrawing of vaccinations, et cetera, or giving vaccinations, excuse me. There's going to be a fight. And the fight is going to be contentious come January 20th at noon when those executive orders start out. Expect that. So I don't believe that they're going to be joining in with Republicans right away, if at all, because it's going to be polar opposites in mindsets in politics.
Joe, let's talk a little bit about the Elon Musk factor. Mike Johnson reposted Donald Trump's endorsement. Musk then posted, "I feel the same way. You have my full support." There's an interesting line that with Musk and Republicans and Trump, and we're not quite sure where this is all settling in.
I think Musk and Trump, Allie, are tied to each other. I think they cut a deal halfway through this campaign, and Elon Musk said, "I'm going to help get you elected, and these are the 2 or 3 things I care about." And Donald Trump, I think, is beholden to Musk. And Donald Trump will abuse and use his base, because that's what he's done for 7 or 8 years, and they will smile and take it. And I don't think his base really realizes what's coming when we talk about Elon Musk and a number of these oligarchs who are going to hold real sway over Trump in this second term.
It's kind of amazing, April, that it's happening. We talk about it in other countries where it's sort of entrenched and institutionalized. It's happening here in America in front of us because it's playing out on social media, because Elon Musk tweets about everything he thinks. So you're actually seeing this remarkable influence of Elon Musk on Congress, on elected representatives, a guy who's not elected to anything.
Allie, I have a totally different opinion about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I think at some point there's going to be a battle of egos, okay? I can't help but think about what happened with Donald Trump and Steve Bannon. It kept building and kept building with Steve Bannon, and finally one night on the wonderful Saturday Night Live show, they did something, and Steve Bannon was the ex facto president, and Donald Trump hated it. And after that, their relationship totally tanked. We have seen Donald Trump say, look, Elon, I'm the president. Everybody, I'm the president. We're already seeing that now. And at some point when he becomes president, and if Elon Musk keeps tweeting ahead of him and Donald Trump saying the same thing, there's going to be a battle of egos. And the question is, who is going to win this one? Because Elon Musk has power beyond power. He is wealthy. Billionaire status, stratospheric. He even took people up in the heavens. But he's also close to other world leaders. So how will this relationship play out even if there's a rift? Because if it breaks, it could be at the detriment of the United States of America.
Steve Bannon, Allie, is no Elon Musk, but you nailed it. This is wrong. It's happening before our very eyes right now. An unelected oligarch is preparing to run things. This is scary, scary stuff.
And both of them, Bannon and Musk, are going at it on the issue of immigration, which we're going to talk about in the next hour. Good to see you both. I appreciate you being here with us this evening. Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman from Illinois. April Ryan, the White House correspondent and Washington bureau chief for the GRIO. Have a good evening, both of you. All right, coming up, an appeals court upholds E. Jean Carroll's $5 million civil judgment against Donald Trump. We'll be back after a quick break.
We need your help. Go online, call, or scan this code to support WWF's global conservation efforts by symbolically adopting an elephant for only $16 a month. It's just 53 cents a day to protect wildlife and their habitats. Do it in the next 5 minutes, and you'll get this free adoption kit with this plush keepsake. Go online, call, or scan to help make a difference today.
Lawmakers are trying to shut down Planned Parenthood. The health care of more than 2 million people is at stake.
Our right to basic reproductive health care is being stolen from us. Planned Parenthood believes everyone deserves health care. It's a human right. Future generations are beginning to lose the rights we fought for. The rights for ourselves, our kids, and our grandkids. Gone, just like that.
I can't believe this is the world we live in, where we're losing the freedom to control our own bodies.
Last year, politicians in 47 states introduced bills that would block people from getting the sexual and reproductive care they need. Where does it end? Planned Parenthood fights for you every day, but we need your support now more than ever. Visit this website, call, or scan the code on your screen with your $19 monthly gift. Help us win the fight for the constitutional right to control our own bodies.
Truly, if Planned Parenthood had not stepped in, I would not be here today. They saved my life.
Your support is urgent. Our rights and the rights of future generations are at risk, and lives are at risk.
And that's why we have to keep fighting in every state, everywhere.
Donate $19 a month or whatever you can afford, and you'll help us fight against laws that block care and take away our rights.
We fight to make sure everyone and anyone can get the care they need.
But we need your help, and there's never been a more urgent time to join. So go online, call, or scan this code now. Sign up with your monthly gift today, and we'll send you this Care No Matter What t-shirt.
It is your right to have safe health care. That's it.
We won't give up, and we won't back down.
We need you now more than ever. Go online, call, or scan right now.
Victims of mesothelioma and their families may be entitled to receive a cash award from the estimated $30 billion in asbestos trust funds now available. Over $50 billion has been awarded already. If you have been diagnosed with mesothelioma or lung cancer caused by asbestos, call the number on your screen now. We have served victims of mesothelioma and their families nationwide for over 30 years. We have successfully recovered hundreds of millions of dollars for thousands of our clients. Even if a family member has passed due to mesothelioma, you may still be entitled to a cash award. So call now for your free evaluation. We want to help victims of mesothelioma and lung cancer, and your families get the financial compensation you deserve from the estimated $30 billion in trust funds now available. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call 1-800-290-7477 now or visit us at mesofund.com.
Get ready with me. I'm going to do a no makeup look in 2 minutes. So I'm going to get ready with the viral 2-minute full face makeup kit by Laura Geller. I love their foundation. It hides any unevenness that I have. It doesn't sit in fine lines like other foundations, and it's not cakey. Okay, now that that's all even, the blush highlights the cheekbone perfectly. Now the highlighter. Oh, look at that glow. It doesn't even feel like makeup, and it only took me 2 minutes.
Get your Cult Classics full face kit at laurageller.com.
I want to show you something that Donald Trump reposted on his social media feed over the weekend. Here it is. You can see the writer E. Jean Carroll, and you can see Donald Trump. And you can see a caption, "Should a woman go to jail for falsely accusing a man of rape?" End quote. Well, the timing of that post is interesting because earlier today, a federal appeals court upheld E. Jean Carroll's $5 million civil judgment against the president-elect. Back in 2023, a jury found Trump liable for sexually abusing Carroll in the mid-1990s and then defaming her after she went public with her story. Trump attempted to appeal the verdict because of what he claimed were unfair rulings from the judge who presided over the trial. Trump took issue with the judge's decision to allow testimony from 2 other women who claimed they'd been sexually accosted by him. He also took issue with the judge's decision to allow the jury to hear the Access Hollywood tape. But the appeals court looked at it, and today it ruled against Donald Trump. In its ruling, the court said, quote, "Mr. Trump has not demonstrated that the district court erred in any of the challenged rulings. Further, he has not carried his burden to show that any claimed error or combination of claimed errors affected his substantial rights as required to warrant a new trial," end quote. Joining me now is Mary McCord, former acting assistant attorney general for national security at the Justice Department, and Tim O'Brien, senior executive editor for Bloomberg Opinion. Welcome to both of you. Mary, in a statement today from Donald Trump's team, they have vowed to continue appealing this case. What else can happen here?
So there are 2 options. I would say the odds of either of them resulting in a further appeal are quite slim. One is to seek what's called en banc review. That would mean to go back to the Second Circuit and ask for the full court to rehear the case. That's an extraordinary thing, and the full court will usually only agree to rehear a case if they think a panel made a significant mistake in a particularly important case. The other option is to seek certiorari in the U.S. Supreme Court. Again, I think pretty unlikely. The U.S. Supreme Court takes cases where there is a split between the circuits or between the circuits and state courts over an important federal issue of federal law, like federal constitutional law, or in exceptionally important cases involving federal law. Here we are talking about not state court rulings, but evidentiary rulings in a case. And the Supreme Court's rules actually say rarely will they grant certiorari for things that are about the discretionary decisions of a trial court to apply settled law to the facts. That's exactly what these alleged errors are. They're errors that Donald Trump's team argued unsuccessfully to the Seventh Circuit were things that Judge Kaplan had allowed into evidence that they think should not have been allowed into evidence. The standard is abuse of discretion. The Second Circuit found no abuse of discretion. There's no dispute over the law that applies. It's only on how that law was applied to the facts, and that is not really reviewable at a higher level.
Tim, one of the interesting things to have you here, you've, of course, studied and written about Donald Trump for decades. I showed that repost from Donald Trump about E. Jean Carroll suggesting that she could be jailed. Now, on one hand, you need to take these things seriously because he's the incoming president of the United States, and he's got a bit of a vendetta. On the other hand, you have studied him for decades. This is what he does. He threatens people.
Well, and you know what's really important to remember here is that E. Jean Carroll's successful claim of sexual abuse gave rise to a defamation claim that she also is thus far successfully taken to Trump's doorstep. And that's come with an even larger financial damages penalty. It's at this point, I think, about $83 million. And yet Trump continues to defame her. He continues to post threatening statements about her. And I've said this before, but I think that Robbie Kaplan and the other lawyers representing E. Jean Carroll and E. Jean Carroll herself might simply consider this ruling to be an annuity, because Donald Trump can't help but continue to engage in defamatory behavior toward E. Jean Carroll. And each time he does, it gives rise to a new claim. And yes, this is what he does. And this is what he's done to his critics in the political sphere, in the business sphere, in media, across all U.S. institutions. And he continues to do it as president. And it's why this case, in addition to being I think a just result for E. Jean Carroll herself and for other women who've been in this situation, is that it continues to remind us what an important bulwark the courts are against abusive behavior and abuse of power by anyone at any level of society, including the President of the United States. And that was the standard that was tested and unfortunately, I don't think met by the Supreme Court in the January 6th case, and then later, of course, in the Mar-a-Lago case. And I think if Donald Trump is going to do this, institutions have to stand up and get in his way.
And so, Mary, help us out with the legal side of this thing, because there are two Kaplans involved here. E. Jean Carroll's lawyer is Kaplan and the judge is Kaplan. E. Jean Carroll's lawyer told the New York Times in May that her team would consider further legal action, as Tim was suggesting, against Trump after he posted disparaging remarks on Truth Social. Now, I just need to understand the legality of this, because if I sit here and say, hey, should Tim O'Brien go to jail for saying something about me, does that cross a line into defaming her, or is this just Donald Trump talking and protected by the First Amendment?
Well, it has to be a known falsehood that does cause somebody harm. And here, of course, he is continuing to essentially say that E. Jean Carroll lied, where she has been through 2 trials, has received jury verdicts in her favor, necessarily meaning that the jury credited her story. Because in both cases, in this case, by the way, this case was actually involved, the one that was just affirmed today, involved the second instance of defamation, because the first instance of defamation that she sued about got hung up in lower court proceedings and interlocutory appeals, so that this second case involving defamatory statements that Trump made after he was no longer president in 2022, this is the one that actually went to trial first, believe it or not. So this is the one that involved already an additional instance of defamation. Nevertheless, twice now juries have returned verdicts that necessarily show they concluded that she testified credibly, that her story was credible, that she was sexually abused by Donald Trump, and that he defamed her. So for him to say anything that says that she is a liar, that she has made this up, that this is a hoax, those are defamatory statements. And defamation, just by nature of law, is not protected by the First Amendment.
Thank you to both of you. Appreciate your analysis and your experience tonight. Mary McCord is a former acting assistant attorney general for national security at the Justice Department. Tim O'Brien is a senior executive editor for Bloomberg Opinion. All right, coming up, what exactly is Donald Trump doing when he threatens to take over Greenland and the Panama Canal? We'll try to answer that question next.
They get it. They know how it works. And most importantly, it works for them.
I don't have any anxiety about money anymore.
I don't have to worry about a mortgage payment every month.
It allowed me to live in my home and not have to make payments.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, you could access a portion of your equity to improve your lifestyle. A reverse mortgage loan can eliminate your monthly mortgage payments and put tax-free cash in your pocket.
It was the best thing I've ever done. And
really?
Yes, without a doubt.
These folks know. Finance of America can show you how a reverse mortgage loan uses your built-up home equity to give you tax-free cash.
It's a good thing.
So look, why don't you get the facts like these folks did and see if a reverse mortgage could work for you?
Call Finance of America and get your free info kit.
Call 800-963-9445.
My name is Jackson, and I have spastic cerebral palsy. It's a mouthful. One of the harder things is the little things that I need help with. Getting dressed, brushing your teeth, being able to go out with your friends by yourself. Those are hard because you don't want help, but you need it.
Children like Jackson need continued support for the rest of their lives. And you can help. Please join Easter Seals right now with your monthly gift.
I'm almost there.
The kids that you're helping, their goals is to be as independent as they can. These therapies help my son to achieve that goal.
Easter Seals offers important disability and community services that can change a life forever. Please, go online, call, or scan the QR code right now with your gift of just $19 a month.
It really does make a difference. Strengthening with Easter Seals helped me realize I can get through hard things. Don't give up. Keep trying.
Even better.
Please visit helpeasterseals.com. Call or scan the QR code on your screen with your gift of $19 a month. And we'll send you this t-shirt as a thank you.
Your help and your support, the need for it is endless.
Thank you, because there's a lot of people with disabilities out there. People like me.
Please, join Easter Seals with your monthly gift right now.
Look at this one under eye bag. It's gone.
There's this side and this side.
50 and haven't slept in weeks. 35 and fresh from a vacation.
Have you seen these videos all over social media and said to yourself, how is that real? Well, it's real. It works in as little as 10 minutes, and these results are incredible. It's called Plexiderm, and it can change the way you look almost instantly. Plexiderm is clinically studied to help reduce the appearance of under-eye puffiness, wrinkles, and fine lines, giving you a more youthful look in minutes with results that last up to 10 hours.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Who am I?
Oh my God. I can't believe I have no lines in my face.
I'm just in love with the mirror right now.
These results are remarkable, so don't wait. Try clinically studied Plexiderm this new year for just $14.95. Visit plexidermtrial.com or call the number on your screen.
For plant-based healthy blood pressure support, there's one brand at Walmart that stands above the rest. It's Super Beets. Discover why more cardiologists recommend Super Beets for heart health support than any other beet brand at superbeets.com.
This tiny home trend, not for me. Now, this is more like it. The same goes for my footwear. So I went hands-free with wide-fit Skechers slip-ins. Just step in and go without bending down or touching my shoes. Wide-fit, hands-free Skechers slip-ins.
One of the things that Donald Trump has talked about the most during this transition is the idea of U.S. territorial expansion. He did it again on Christmas Day, threatening to bring the Panama Canal back under American control after 50 years, threatening to take over Greenland, and threatening to make Canada the 51st state. It's quite a shopping list. It's important to note, none of these things are likely to ever happen. So it begs the question, why is Trump continuing to talk about this? And the short answer is, it's largely a troll. It's an effort to grab headlines and own the narrative by saying unpredictable and outrageous things and getting people like us to chase him down rabbit holes. But when the person doing the trolling is going to be sitting in the Oval Office in less than a month, sometimes you have to take a closer look at why he's talking about these things and whether or not they should be taken at all seriously, despite how unserious the claims can be. Trump's team insists it's part of a larger strategy, saying in a statement, quote, Trump is already delivering on his promise to make America strong again. When he officially takes office, foreign nations will think twice before ripping off our country. America will be respected again, and the whole world will be safer, end quote. But Trump's former ambassador to Panama offered a less charitable explanation, saying, quote, Trump loves to be the agent of chaos. He feels that this kind of disruptive approach to international affairs makes him and the United States strong. It's very much the Richard Nixon uncontrollable madman theory, end quote. Now, in that, he's referring to the Nixon administration's strategy of cultivating an image of a volatile and unpredictable president to intimidate and destabilize our adversaries. As to the question of how seriously we should take it, the Washington Post puts it like this, quote, although many of Trump's allies brush off Trump's threats as part of his normal negotiating playbook, some in his orbit have real concerns about whether he'll cross the line from harsh rhetoric and economic warfare to military intervention, end quote. Joining me now is the former U.S. ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul. Ambassador, this is a tricky thing because as a diplomat, as an ambassador, you often have to evaluate what leaders say, what's serious and what's not. And as we've watched with Vladimir Putin, things that sounded outlandish and not serious became very serious in the invasion of Ukraine. I know I was up in Canada a couple of weeks ago and people were thinking about this. They were like, what's he talking about? Is he serious? What do you make of all of these expansionist comments coming from Donald Trump?
Well, you know, the generous interpretation, as you just talked about, is that this is crazy genius. But I just think it's crazy. This notion that this volatile leader, this Nixon analogy, will work for Trump in a second term, I don't think there's evidence to support that hypothesis. We had 4 years of it already, after all, and I can't think of a single instance where Trump acting crazy led to a positive outcome for American security or economic interests. Moreover, I think we have to weigh the damage as well. Think about Denmark for a minute. They're a major contributor to Ukraine. We want our European allies to contribute to the effort in Ukraine. President-elect Trump has said that as well. Why are we harassing one of the biggest per capita? They're the second largest contributor to Ukraine right now. Why are we harassing them? Why are we making them think twice? Same for the Canadians, same for the people of Panama. It doesn't serve our long-term strategic interests.
Does it open a bit of a Pandora's box where other leaders who do say these things, whether they mean it or not, feel emboldened to do the same? We do live in a world where expansionism is a real problem. Countries going into other countries and taking other people's land.
I think that's a great point. We benefit from a rules-based international order. When countries like Russia invade their neighbors and annex territory, we can invoke to the rest of the world that this violates the terms of the post-World War II order, right? We can't do that when we begin threatening to take other pieces of land and we begin to act or at least sound like Russia. I think it's very dangerous. I think it emboldens people like Xi Jinping. Well, if America can take Greenland, why
where a pro-Russian president was just sworn in. There seems to be a lot of unease in Georgia, almost reminiscent of sort of 2013 to 2014 Ukraine.
It's a part of the same trend. It's exactly right. The last elections there were deemed by international observers and NGOs as unfree and unfair. There's been massive demonstrations on the streets of Georgia. It reminds me going all the way back to 2003, by the way, when you had the Rose Revolution. But this time there's one big difference. There's little support coming from President-elect Trump. In many of these places, the incoming president of the United States is closer ideologically to the illiberal anti-democratic leaders in all these countries we're talking about than supportive of the liberal pro-democratic forces. That's something fundamentally different. We haven't seen that ever.
We'll keep an eye on it together. Ambassador, good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Michael McFaul is the former United States ambassador to Russia. We got to sneak in a quick break, but we'll have another full hour of live coverage coming up. The former Congressman David Jolly and Molly Jong-Fast are stopping by. We'll talk about the civil war that's erupting inside the Republican Party over foreign worker visas. Plus, I'll be taking a look back at President Jimmy Carter's public service with the CEO of Habitat for Humanity. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
When you smell the amazing scent of Gain Flings, time stops. And you realize you're in love.
Steve!
With a laundry detergent. Gain Flings, seriously good scent.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
This holiday season, the frigid temperatures won't show any mercy on the animals who've been left outside in the cold. Animals who've been abandoned and neglected, who are freezing with no shelter.
Troubles will be out of sight.
They're fighting to stay alive, and every moment they spend suffering could be one moment too late. Visit joinaspca.org, call this toll-free number, or scan the code on your screen to sign up with your $19 monthly gift. And if you've ever thought about helping, this is the time.
Now on our troubles will be miles away.
It's just 63 cents a day to help rescue animals who are suffering.
Faithful friends who are
We need 3,000 new supporters in the next 30 days so we can rescue more animals this winter. The animals who are freezing need our help, and they need it now.
through the years we all will be together.
If you're wondering, will my support make a difference, I can tell you, it will. Thousands of lives are on the line. And because this situation is so urgent, we're asking you to join in the next 10 minutes. If you do, we'll send you this free welcome kit and this limited edition Animal Champion t-shirt.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas.
It's the season of giving, and your monthly donation could be the greatest gift you give to an animal who needs you. Go online, call, or scan now.
Time is running out to give a year-end gift like no other. A gift that can help St. Jude Children's Research Hospital save lives.
Cancer doesn't care how old you are, and it's devastatingly scary. If you're donating to St. Jude, you're supporting finding a cure because the fight never stops.
Every gift counts, and whatever you can give will make a difference for children like Gideon. Make your donation today to help St. Jude save lives.
Don't let back pain turn your whole day into a constant struggle. Take action with Dones. Proven relief to get you back to your day. Dones, maximum strength back pain relief. Trusted for over 100 years to get you back to doing what you love.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients, selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
It's a lot to be a caregiver and a daughter because you kind of have to take a step back. Getting some help would be a great relief.
From companions to helpers to caregivers, find all the senior care you need at care.com.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
What's causing the rise in book banning? On my podcast, Velshi Banned Book Club, I speak with authors of banned books to try and find out. Season 2 of Velshi Banned Book Club. All episodes available now.
MSNBC Premium gives you early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping series, MSNBC Original Podcasts, exclusive bonus content, and all of your favorite MSNBC shows now ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
Welcome back to the special edition of The Beat. I'm Ali Velshi in for Ari Melber. The nation continues to mourn the passing of President Jimmy Carter, who passed away yesterday at the age of 100 and who set the bar for post-White House presidential legacies. No presidency, no matter the political landscape, gets the benefit of smooth sailing. When Jimmy Carter was inaugurated at the beginning of 1977, he had what every incoming president dreams of. He had a House and Senate controlled by lawmakers from his own party, in his case, the Democrats. It is in this magical phase that new presidents often try to speed their legislative priorities through Congress. But that's not how Jimmy Carter spent the early days of his administration. Before the first 100 days of his presidency were up, Jimmy Carter announced that his administration would be slashing the part of the federal budget that paid for water projects, building dams and rivers and canals in different parts of the country. The problem with that, being the building these rivers, the rivers and dams and canals, were the pet projects of a whole bunch of Democratic members in Congress. And it was not just the fact that Jimmy Carter wanted to kill their big water projects that rubbed them the wrong way. It was also the way President Carter went about letting them know. He didn't call them up. He didn't dispatch a staffer to deliver the bad news. Most of these members of Congress, members of Jimmy Carter's own party, found out their budgets had been killed by the president from reading about it in the newspaper. But remember, the president doesn't control the power of the purse. Congress does. And so Congress wrote up legislation to fund every single